Now, Yuri was born in a tropical land. She saw the possibilities of coming to Canada and has been here for 26 years. She joined Toastmasters in 2012 and admits that she has too many stories to tell. Today, Yuri will share what she has learned about leadership styles from books, work, university, and Toastmasters. And help me welcome Yuri to begin her presentation.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And I do have a passion for leadership, probably because I come from a land that leadership is something that it seems to be non-existent. And for that reason, I decided that I would learn that part. And here is my presentation. Is leadership and empathy. And in here, I include empathy because it's something that a lot of leaders forget to have it. But we will get into that soon. So that's me. I've been a Toastmasters in 2012. I know we have some guests today that are not Toastmasters, and that's what I do for Toastmasters. This is the general objective here. You will have an information of what a leadership definition is. Of course, the definition that I like the most. And then the leader definition, yet again, the same thing. So we are talking on the same basics. I will talk about the 4 essentials roles of leadership. And I will mention the 21st law of leadership and how the leadership styles were taught before, not how they are now. And now we go into the next one, how they were presented in Toastmasters too. And ethics, values, and I will do morals as well, and how to do and apply empathy on that. That particular subject is a subject studied by a professor, and he did a full study in a couple of industries, and he went to the site and did everything in Nike. And it's an amazing book, is fully recommended. So I will go, this is my objective, that you take home with you what a leadership definitions and types are. Empathy would be the empathy definition, and connection, values and ethics. And ethics and empathy. And then we have a little break of about 10 minutes or less. And we will talk about apply empathy. And believe it or not, I will leave some food for thought at the very end. That's more or less how the speech will go. So here we go. What is leadership? A leadership is not to be sitting in a role of management in a position. It is the art of motivating a group to act and achieving a common goal. To have a position specifically is not being a leader, not it is to have a leadership position. It's just having a leadership position. So what is a leader? We know sadly by history that there are people that get the sad position, either religious or political, that will destroy people and society. Those guys are not leaders. They're just druggers. They don't live something which is what you expect, and it is to motivate the people that are around you and make them go and improve and achieve their goals and do a motivation, make them positive impact on those people's life and around them. And that detail is very important because it is a very different thing in being a leader and having a leadership position. And that is why I like to make those 2 definitions at the very beginning. Now, The four roles of leadership, I will date myself with this, by the way. The four roles of leadership were made by Stephen Covey. Now they call them four essential roles of leadership. When I learned this one, and I will not read the slide, by the way, when I learned this one, in what it says create a vision, it was literally create a pathfinder. And the executive strategy, it was called aligning. And the coach potential, I like this change. It's empowering. That's how it used to be called. And inspired trust, it was literally something what it was called modeling. Those are words that we use in Toastmasters, but it's important that we know that the group of Franklin Covey did change that, but it's something that it is the same. In essence, it's exactly the same. Now, in the create vision, there are three things that needs to happen, and those are: be clear what are the stakeholders' needs, missions and values, and vision and strategy. Those 3 points are things that we tend to do anyway in Toastmasters. Then it goes the next one. The next one is what I used to call aligning, or they used to call it aligning. Now is understand the whole, what everything needs to happen. And it is there, and it is there for you to realize that part. And then aligning the parts. What parts? I mean, whatever you have in your plans, whatever you lead in, either a project or a company or a nonprofit organization, you still need to align everything what is going on within that group. And that is what you do there. And the next one is coach potential, what it used to be called empowering. And that goes with that famous expression that he used to use, which is the win-win agreement. It is the leadership style. You need to find your leadership style. And that is one of the things they used to do in that course. I will not touch that part on here because we have other things to do. And coaching and empowering people. We do that in the hardcore. We try to do that in Toastmasters, coaching people and having them to go and improve themselves. And of course, you need to model. That means you need to try to be a good leader in the position that you have. And that is something that we all work on. And that's why we are here, that we have coaches. That is why we have motivation to do these speeches. And that is why we participate in different roles and positions within Toastmasters. So here we go. We have the 21st Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. This is a book that have broken records within the area of leadership and internationally, actually. And we go with the law of lead. It is the ability of determining the person level of effectiveness. And that, anytime I read that law, I have to say, it reminds me one thing only. And it is something that was way back when, I would say 60s or 70s, which is a book called The Peter's Principle. When you reach the top, you are done, you're doomed. That's it. Basically, this is what it is. But sometimes, and that is when it becomes interesting, is you can move the lead, and that is done by a good leader. A good leader can help a person to move a little bit ahead to the maximum they apparently can reach. And that is the part that we play a role there. I mean, we those that try to be leaders. The influence is modeling no matter what. The law of process, and it's there, navigation, and you can read all of them. I will not read them. I will leave you a PDF at the very end. And then it is the law of intuition. Do all leaders have intuitions? I think not. But you learned. Intuition is something that you can learn. That little machine that we have here inside, it can learn many things that we might not have an idea, but intuition is something that you can learn. Actually, I found recently that there is a course about how to learn to have an intuition. And I said, that is too much. I don't want anymore. I was so absolutely surprised. Magnetism, I think I don't necessarily do that part, because that one in particular is one of those can be very dangerous. We have had those leaders that have magnetism, they have that, they follow the law, but they don't follow any of the other ones. Those leaders can be very dangerous. And those are leaders that you need to put your eyes open and be alert. Those can be very dangerous. Law connection, fantastic. You can do that. The inner circle, that's fantastic. You can do that too. And it is an amazing law. Empowerment, reproduction, buying in. Darn it. That is another law that can be good in some cases, but it can be dangerous in other cases. And again, it will touch, in this case, the 9 and the 14th are two that touches some leaders that are populists, let's put it that way. And for me, those scare me. If they can be used isolated, that is dangerous. If they can be combined with the rest of the laws, it's fantastic. So you have to be careful with those laws and who use them. The law of victory. Wow, who doesn't want to be a winner? We all would like to. So let's go for it. Let's look into that, learn from that, and then we can achieve them, taking those laws into the part that we do. Priorities, sacrifice, timing. Ooh, we do that. Toastmasters, we do timing. And that is very important, to learn how to manage time. Explosive growth, fantastic. That's what we are trying. We're trying to grow and keep on growing and living that part. Law of legacy, fantastic. That is another one we would like to leave. A little legacy, even if it lasts a couple of years after we leave Toastmasters, we would love to have a little legacy there. Is a natural ego, and that it is, trust me, neurological, believe it or not. There is a neurology that have course in master courses or masters or something. It is a beautiful course. It is very encouraging because the guy put it with the association with the neurological part of the human being, and I find that lovely. Then it is type of leadership. This is what I learned way back when. And when I mean way back when, again, I'm dating myself. Type of leadership were harmonious, influential, cautious, and dominant. Musicians, priests are part of the harmonious, and they're empathic. They tend to be empathic. Influencing teachers and knowledgeable people, and they tend as well to be empathic. There are some that are arrogant, by the way. That's another story. But it happens to be that way. Accountants are cautious. Administrative people and finance, they have to be cautious because they are dealing with the money of an organization or hours or the nation, actually. I mean, that's part of the story. Dominant are the army, CFO, CSO, so CEOs, CIOs, organization, people that deal with the organization growth. The reason why the dominants are a type of leaders, not necessarily they are disjointed with the people they lead, is because they deal with numbers. And those leaders are putting aside regularly because they deal with the numbers. The numbers is how much the company is making, how much, what is the growth that we can plan, how many equipment we can get. That's the CIOs. I mean, and there we go. It depends on what the organization is all about. The administrative and accountants, we know that part. They need to be careful because they are handling the money. And it's interesting that a lot of people that are harmonious are influencing type. And that I thought was very interesting too. So next one is, how does Toastmasters present the leadership types? The bureaucratic, authoritative, innovative, pace setting, democratic, coaching, and altruistic. And this belongs to a project that is in the majority of the level 2 of the pathways. And it is very important that I will not go into details because precisely some of you will go into that part. And it's a very interesting project. I loved it. So now we go into the part that really drove me into this. And I will tell you why. There was one day I was talking with Margaret Page way back when, a couple of years back. And I said that there is one thing I didn't find that was missing, or I did find what's missing when you present the values of Toastmasters. And I will get you there and why. And she said, why do you say that? And I said, because without ethics, the values, I don't see the value in the values. And she said, okay, take it on. I said, anytime. So here it is. I'm doing this part now. So what is the golden rule? The golden rule will be resumed and is presented completely different in the different religions. Is do not do to others what you don't want to be done to you. And doesn't matter which religion you are in, it will be different. Now, here we go. Values are a set of belief and idea affecting the way we make the decision and conduct ourselves or themselves. I mean, it doesn't matter. So the Toastmasters values are integrity, respect, service, and excellence. And we all work for that, which is, I love it. I said, it's amazing, it's fantastic. We all do that. And we love to do that. But here we go. We have now the morals. The concern with the principle of right or wrong. That's something we learn from our parents, what you do right and when you do wrong. It doesn't matter. You can have a list of values and a list of morals, and you can decide what it is and what you learned in your core or in your initiation of life from your parents and everything. Now, here we go. Empathy and its meaning. I love that one, and I'm going to tell you why, because this one is done by Brené Brown. And she is an amazing person, and I read a lot of things of her. I think I have read all her books. Empathy is a way to connect to the emotion of another person to the emotion of another person is experiencing. It does not require for us to have experienced the same situation they're going through. Normally, and I'm one of those that have that quote, it is, if you haven't lived it, you will not understand what I'm living. Sometimes you just need to understand that person or what they're going through. And that is essentially what Brené says there. And there are different types of empathy: cognitive, emotional, and compassionate. Cognitive means you are rational. You have to put your rational part of the brain to understand what the person is going through. And sometimes when you go into the emotional part, you have gone through that and you lose the perspective sometime in how to help that person. So you have to combine those two things. And again, empathy is something that can be learned. It's not something that you have to have it. What is natural to the individual is to be compassionate. It's innate. I mean, apparently that's what the people that know about it say, and I trust them for that. And that is one of the things I thought was very interesting. So here we go. The cognitive empathy is basically you process it, as I said it before, emotional empathy and compassionate empathy. There we go. So it is something I already mentioned, basically. I just went ahead and I forgot to flip there. So but there is a connection between values and ethic. Values tells us what to achieve in our life, whereas ethics help us deciding what is morally correct or incorrect in a given situation. And ethics are consistent, whereas the values are different between person and person. So going back to the principles of Toastmasters, integrity can be one thing for me and another thing for another person, because they are according to the person, not to that. And that is something we need to be very careful when, as an organization and as a organization or group that we are in, that have to be very clear. Those 2 points have to be very clear. And ethics versus empathy. Okay, I thought it is very important, especially because of the time we're living in right now. This part have to be very important. Ethics versus empathy. The only part that is used is in healthcare. It's called care ethics. It's a field that takes care of the patient. And it's very interesting because it's not empathy. It seems to be that a lot of people think it is empathic, and the caretaker have to be empathic with the patient, and it's not. The field is called care ethics. And I thought it was very interesting when I was reading about that, because I went into a shock, I would say, because I was attending to a course or a seminar, sorry, about how they're doing to taking care of the people that have COVID-19. That was more or less in April or May last year. And I was, oh my God, so it's not empathy. So it is not, and it is taught to be a care ethics. They have to be, and they have to be prepared and do that part. And it is a field within the medical field. So I thought it was important to where we are living now. Now, being a mathematician, of course, I will take something of mathematics in here today. And it is Mohammed Al-Khwarizmi is the father of algebra. And he once was asked if he can give a value to a person. And he said, if he has ethic, his value is 1. If he's intelligent, I will add a zero on the right side of the 1. So that means his value is 10. And if he's rich, then his value is 100. And if he's an excellent person, his value is 1,000. That means he would add another 1. But if he doesn't have ethics, the rest is all lost. He has only 3 zeros remaining. So in few words, it is without ethical values, the person have no value. So here we go, and I'm going to ask you a question. For those that would like to answer that question, please let Ray know that. Just imagine this picture right now, that somebody that you are supervising or you're leading tells you, oh, I'm going to pick on Georgina because I appreciate her. Georgina told me that she just will do nothing, and it is impossible. And I go and tell my supervisor, oh my God, Georgina doesn't want to do what I'm telling her. She's saying just do nothing, and it is impossible. And then what would you act as a leader? What would you do as a leader if I go and tell you that Georgina is saying that? And that is the question. Can anybody give me an idea? Is anybody taking to have an answer about that? I think there's somebody clicking something here on the chat.
I'm not seeing anything in the chat yet. I'm just putting a note in for everybody that if you would like to ask a question, please message me in the chat and with your question, and I can ask it. Or if you would like to ask the question, please message me in the chat and I will introduce you and spotlight you so you can ask the question on video.
That means I will post that.
No questions in the chat right now. Although what I am looking at, to answer the question again, I can see how these two corners are connected.
Yes, they are, but that's another story. Yeah, what would happen is normally what a manager would do is they will take this point of view face value, meaning one face of the coin. And normally what they would do is take, oh, you were doing this and blah, 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 and they will go and reprimand the person that was talked about. In this case, as I was picking on Georgina, and they will talk about, we talked to Georgina, said, why did you say that? And da, 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 da. And then Georgina comes and said, I did not say that. What I did say is this. Just do it. Nothing is impossible. So what that means in essence is sometimes those people that are in leadership position forget that there is always a relation of two sides of the coin. You don't take one side of the coin when you're doing something like this, and not when you're a leader. It is important that you see both sides. Believe it or not. Now, let's go to 7 empathy archetypes. And there is a PDF file in your chat. It is nice if you download it, and I will tell you why. I will not show it in the share as of now. So what is this? And this is, as I mentioned, is a team that decided to work with the leaders of different organizations, and the whole core project ended being in Nike. Or Nike, how some people call it, doesn't matter for me. It's the same product. So empathic archetypes are based on this definition, which is a different definition as the one I read before from Brené Brown. Empathy is not about being nice. It's about understanding. It is very similar, though, to Brené's definition. Empathy provides us with a diverse perspective and problem solving that can lead us to a new, better ways of thinking, being, and doing. And I love that part. Now, the archetypes are here and I don't want to read the definition because it's there for you to read it, is the sage. The sage is somebody who is really wanting to learn and how to help you, dedicated to put you in a better position in the now, and is ready to do that. Then it is the convener, the person that will try to adapt and understand you, and he will go in another way to try to get the how and how things work better. But within that one, there are those people that are aware of the people and the team and everybody that is there, and will try to get a coffee for somebody or a tea for somebody or the right cookie for somebody else. And the person will be ready to help you. It's not only in the social aspect, but as well understanding and the social behavior that the person has. The alchemists, God, those are fun people, but there are people that are in absolute pursuit of knowledge and learning and really would like to be there with you all the time and having it exactly being there and knowledge-wise, and what they don't know, they will inquire and get with you. The part of being empathic. And the person that is fully confident and probably if they look a little bit disconnected, let's put it that way. But in reality, they are exactly on the dot. They are that type of people that you need to make sense and safety. They probably will be those people that will talk last. But they are there. They're excellent planners. They will say what they want and they need on the right time. And the seeker, oh my God, those are love that because they are daring, confident, fearless, and I lack that. I need people like that in my teams. I am sometimes a little bit a lack of confidence. Not necessarily all the time, but I do. Even though that's not what people see on me, and I feel, oh no, really, but yes, I am. So that means I'm the opposite of a seeker. I just, the type of people that look for knowledge, learned and learned and learned. So I'm not literally on the seeker part of it. Cultivators are committed to nourish the person and the people they are leading. And it's fantastic, it's beautiful the way they are. It's very connecting with everything. And I think I almost reached that. Now, I will stop here this sharing and I will share the PDF that you have, okay? And the reason why I want to share this PDF is because in here we have, it goes a little bit slow. We have all the questions that we need to ask ourselves, and it doesn't work to walk all that fast as I want to. We have all the type of empathic types, okay? And the part that I'd like you to look into for yourself, we're not going to do that part today, is look at the questions in here. And what is, for example, if you were a sage, you look, what is the purpose? What do you feel? And you will find and you will grade that up here. It is a very fun way to do that. And then you find in here all the type of the archetypes of empathy, of empathic empathy. And it's lovely to see that. I mean, it's a homework that is really valuable when you are a leader. And to know that there is an archetype of empathy, it is very nice to learn that to deal with a big group. And I, having been a teacher sometime in my life, in my back life, I mean, I find that it's very interesting that I should have known that before, I swear. That should have been there for me. But this is a work which is relatively new. So, and this is part of what you have to do in this self chart of it. So what you're going to do, doing the physical, the emotional, how to inspire the community, intellectual, mindful, and all those things. And that is part of what you have to look for. And you will see that some of us to have a little bit of a seeker, a little bit of a convener, and some of us have a little bit of the sage and the inquirer, or the cultivator, or the alchemist. And it's very interesting when you do that, that exercise take you to another realm of how you do see yourself as a leader. Now, I will stop sharing this one and I will get back to the PowerPoint. So that is one little part that I suggest you to look, and it is this is basically what it says here. It is a review of how you identify who you are in a group and how you feel you are in a group and how you get into being a leader within a group and a specific group. Never forgetting, please, that each group has their own culture. It's not the same to be in a new club that is creating their own culture into being in a club that is a traditional club and how they evolve and being better, but they already have their own culture. Or they have been years, club that have been years on Toastmasters, or groups or teams, depending of where you are. This is valid for anywhere. I mean, as I said, they do that in Nike. Nike is a curiosity, and I found that very interesting when I was reading part of the story. Is they have people take this course in different levels. It's a long course, and I thought that was very interesting. The people that I know that work for that company are incredibly surprised, and when they say they have to do a retouch and a refresh of they apply empathy, because people seem to forget or they get to their old habits. So the company have been trying to do refreshers of they apply empathy because of that. People tend to forget and go to the bad habits. And I found that very interesting. So here we go. This is what I showed you in the other file. Now, and here we go into the food for thoughts. How do you feel when you arrive into a new place and you come with an idea and come a bunch of ogres, I mean, and punch you, no, this is not the way we do it, da, 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 or you are blah, blah, blah. They can say whatever excuses to offend the newcomer. This is something that sadly is common. It is just a matter if you're new or you're a foreigner or you're local or you are not. There will always be some people in the group that will do that. This is when teaching empathy becomes very important. And if we are the people there, that is something that we need to learn how to deal with it. Do we go into disappearing and letting everybody come, or we go into here? Do we lose hope and see how everything does, or we try to integrate and help everyone to get part of what we think and how we do influence people into that? And sometimes this is something that we do, but we shouldn't do. I mean, we humans, meaning, if we try to integrate and give the little bits of leadership that we know and empathy that we know and apply it there. And it helps in the social groups. And another way is doing it with emotion, with happiness. I mean, that one, the previous one, this one did it with a little bit cranky and then starting to melt with it, but not really doing it the best way. This guy comes with absolute enthusiasm and go and lead everybody and get it ahead and move ahead. He probably went on training one and doing this and connecting with everybody until he gets and influence everybody in the group. So this is another food for thought. And I love that picture. And it's just one of the things that triggers on me. Now, he comes with that little part of life in which, sorry, I had to look up to think how to say that beautiful, but not really. There are a lot of people that have the tendency to compare themselves with the person that they're meeting at that moment. And right away goes the judging part of it. Let's assume that I meet Kevin for the first time and I said, well, Kevin has something in his personality that I don't like or whatever, and I go in precisely criticize him, which is not real. Okay, I really personally I find Kevin an excellent person, etc. But that's another part of the story. But this is what I see the first time I see Kevin. I see one part of Kevin. In reality, I would like you to remind you when you do crosses teaching, this is what happened on the back. There is behind that person or the perfect person that we see on the front that can be messy. Not everything what we see at the front, it is what is the history of that person and everything what is behind them. So when we compare with somebody or we try to relate to somebody, there is one thing that I have learned to do, and it is learned to apologize. Even if I have never told that person, oh, I'm so sorry, I really didn't know that you were such an excellent person, so cooperative, and there on the dot, on time and everything, because we have to let that person, I had the wrong impression of you. Because that will make the other person that apparently in 20 seconds can picture that you have had the wrong impression of themselves. According to the neurologist, by the way, that's more or less the time in between 6 to 20 seconds you have a picture of somebody. And normally that impression and that comparison are wrong. And that is very interesting, that how to do that. This is something which I think is amazing. It is a podcast on Brené Brown's Unlocking Us. The episode 11 and 12 is dedicated with Harriet Lerner to deal with apology. Sometimes we need to learn how to apologize. This is part of being empathic. This is part of being a leader, is how do we apologize being a leader? And Harriet has a couple of things which I found very interesting. I read, I heard the podcast, I heard them, I think it was in December, sometime in December. And then it's interesting is that part of apologizing, I said, oh my God, I have never apologized to so and so. Or, oh my God, I made such many mistakes with one of my boys or both of them, the way I'd apologize to them. Sometimes an apology had to be done correctly. And that is very important. And I found the one does not include the word bad. And recently, and I will not mention the details, but just briefly, there was a public press release, let's put it that way, in which the person is saying, well, do this, da, 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 and I'm very proud of you. Well, guess what? That is not an apology to the people that are watching that. It's not an apology to anybody. It is a constant miswording of what they're really saying. It's just, calm down for now. Let's just deal with it later on. And it is very scary when the people are dealing with little people. There is a book which is suggested to read for people that they're dealing with leadership. And I forgot to make a note of that one in here, by the way, I think, because I don't recall to have put it there. No, I didn't. It is a book, How to Talk to Your Child. And I will send you in a second the name of it. It is very interesting because the way the practices they do in the book are excellent to be a leader. It is a home leadership, but it is an amazing teaching of leadership. And according to the person that wrote the book, which, as I said, is amazing, it is very interesting because it correlates day-to-day time of how you relate to people. And that is part of the story. It's like, and I'm going to give an example of about an apology. There is somebody who did something a while back, probably about 10, 12 years ago, more or less. And the person came to say, I'm really sorry I did that. 10 years later, it's a little bit too late, kind of thing. So when you do an apology, you have to find the right time to apologize to. So it's not only saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake. No, do it now. And when you realize right away, do it. It's not 10 or 12 years later, because that's absolutely ridiculous. So now, my core story goes, life is what it is. The time is continuous, it goes there all the time. Tick tock tock, the clock will not stop for us. And I don't mean the mechanical clock, I mean the real time will not stop for us. Our position as a leaders is to lead people, to get them better and improve in their life and relate to them. We are still humans, okay? And the only thing that we can do as members of an organization, as Toastmasters of any organization as a whole, is the only people that we can influence is those people around us. Is those people that are here in the everyday time. So some days are better, some days are worst, and look for the blessing or a course. Be positive and be strong and get enough rest. That part I don't follow too good, by the way, but you can't do it all. Just it's impossible. Don't try to do everything. Just try to do better than what you were yesterday. That what I always said, and I tell my kids that all the time. Or my kids are not kids anymore, by the way. They're young men today. When they were kids, I used to tell them, do today better than what you did yesterday. Try to be better today than what you were yesterday. It's the only thing to relate, and try to deal with people the best way you can do it. And I am literally, sorry, I forgot about this. A challenge for all of you. Reflecting all the points I made here today. Deflect everything what you don't think is valuable to you. Refocus in the topics that are at hand for you. Reframe and step back. Have a broader perspective and sit back and look up at what you really want to do. And the next one is confront who you have to confront yourself a lot of the times. Write down and see what you have to do, you have done today, reread it tomorrow, and see what you can help yourself to be critical and have a credibility in what you do. So those are my challenges for you today. And here we go to the Q&A. And then I pass that one to my dear Ray.
Are there any questions?
Let me add one thing now that you put the post there. Brene Brown has a beautiful questionnaire in the Dare to Lead. Okay, it's a questionnaire that helps you or us to think who we are when we do things. And it's a beautiful questionnaire because it's prepared professionally by a psychologist and a social worker. And it's very interesting because it gets you what you really are as a leader. Are you more inclined to be an intellectual or a positive empathic? How vulnerable are you when you do that? And I found that questionnaire very helpful when I did it. I read the book a long time ago. I think almost when it came out, I read that book. And that one with one of the other books of Brene Brown became very important for me in how to deal with things that has happened to me along my life, by the way. And it was for that questionnaire, I promise I wouldn't have gone through.
Kevin, you have a question that you would like to ask in the Q&A.
Great, thank you, Ray. And thank you, Yuri, for that thought-provoking presentation. My question here is, do you see a difference between leaders in the workplace and leaders in nonprofit organizations such as Toastmasters? And if so, what is that difference?
There is a difference, and the difference is that some of the leaders in the organizations are prepared to be managers. And for that reason, they forget that they're in reality leaders. And they start to become the number tracking of the organization. And they forget literally, hey, I'm dealing with a human being. I'm dealing with Kevin, and I need to see Kevin on the eye. And he is the one that I have to deal with. There is a disconnection, and I have tried when I was working with organization that I was working with, I tried to tell them once, it is important that you don't forget, or we don't forget as a leader, that we need to connect to the person that is on the other side. And I was working with IT, where you have 99% of the people are male, and normally I was the only woman in there. And that was very hard sometimes because socially, and it doesn't matter if you're in Canada or you are in Venezuela or you are in Hungary, it doesn't matter. It's imprinted socially in the way men treat women in certain fields. And it is very hard, and you need, especially if you have to say, oh, I'm sorry, this is what it is. You have to be very conscientious of how you do it without being arrogant and without being diminishing to the men as well. So you have to balance out, and that's part of the reason why I love to read about leadership, because I had to relate with people that have quotation mark more power than me, even though it wasn't true, you know. Can summarize one thing which is very important is leadership requires learning. Okay, as I said, empathy is learned, compassion is within, but leadership can be learned. The only thing some people have is a natural way to connect with people. That's part of that thing that attracts other people. And there are people that are amazing with marketing, and they involve people with the way they deal with that. I mean, people with leadership positions, and I cannot mention names, but there are people that have an excellent power of marketing, and they involve people into the roles and everything. And then when you are within it, you realize, oh my God, why I'm here? I mean, how I disconnect with this? I mean, you're already involved. So being not only a leader, but watching a leader is another thing that you have to do. I mean, how to be led is important too.
Yeah.
How do I watch those things? I mean, how do I deal with a person, as I said, in the case, can't remember which one it was, the buy-in type of personality, I think it was one of those. Is when you buy in somebody, you have to be careful how you buy into the person, or how he buy into you as a person that being led, both ways. So in essence, you have to be a watching eye of where you are standing. And I could give you another good example is one that I would say brings some problems with it, but it is when you have to deal with a doctor. When you have to deal with a doctor who is a leader, because he's a leader in science, okay? When you have to deal with a doctor, that you have to explain, I have these symptoms, okay? It is exactly the same thing. You have to be aware of how you tell the doctor your things, so he can really find out exactly what you have. So when you are dealing with a leader, you have to go through the same story. There are leaders that can be tricky, but you have to find out. There are people that are hard to read. And sometimes you say they're hard to read, but they are readable. It's just you don't know how to read them. Their behavior, the demeanor give you the appearance that it cannot be read. But that is part of the story. So keep your eye open for those things. And having the empathy is so crucial, because you are going to be a leader eventually in your life. And you're going to be somebody that eventually, I mean, when you go older, those young people that are here, trust me, there are a couple of them in here that I know of, that are literally going to be there. And you said, oh my God, how did I miss that? You have to be careful how not to damage the people that are growing up after us.
Thank you, Yuri, for this amazing workshop. I think we all got a little bit of reading we want to do after this. It's a huge, huge subject. And even just the point you made about proper ways to apologize, that's something that I think I need to look at, because I'm sure I've got a lot of apologies to make, not just now, but probably in the future as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you for watching this video on the Toastmasters District 96 YouTube channel. Subscribe to our channel to watch replays of our volunteer-run workshops, contests, and other events that are happening in our district. Like this video to show your appreciation for the volunteers who work hard to run these events. And remember, we are all volunteers. Thank you.